Okay, today we're just going to talk about the basics of firing this kiln. So if you have just found that you have your own Paragon A-66B and you're wondering, how the heck do I use this? I'll tell you what I do, and what I've learned is basically I was lucky enough to inherit this kiln, and it still came with its original manual and everything. So, but a lot of this information is available online if you do some digging. I'll try and find some links to drop in the comments below if I can find them. But if not, this basic information should get you set up to do your first fire in your kiln. So, assuming your kiln is up and running and functional, you know your elements are good, your kiln works, here's how you're gonna fire your kiln. First and foremost, I'm assuming you have a kiln sitter. If you don't, principles are still the same. And the most important thing is that you fire your kiln using cones. Like these, pyrometric cones that tell you how your kiln is firing. Ooh. They look like this. You set them in a little plaque base. I'm not sure where mine is right now. There it is. Okay. So you have this plaque base. There's a triangle with a dot. You take your cone, you put it down, and you see which side it falls to. The side it falls to goes with the dot. Now, if I'm firing my cone for a bisque fire, let's say, and it's going to be an 04 is what I do, I'm going to use an 05 cone, an 04 cone, and an 03 cone in order to gauge how hot my kiln has fired. So my 04 cone is my target cone. My 05 will melt first, so then I'll know we're moving up in heat. Then I'll see my 04 starting to melt. And then if it ever ends up going a bit longer, whatever, your 03 might melt a bit, indicating it was like a hot 4. I probably have some cones here to give you an example. One sec. The example cones that I have are for a glaze firing, but it's the same principle. This is how you're reading your cones when you're firing. So this is after my fire. So my cone that's going to melt first, you can see, is really flopped over and rested on the shelf. The middle one is my target cone, and you can see that it's bent over and pretty much touched the edge of the plaque. And they say you want your target cone to be about 90 degrees when done, so it's going to line up here. And that'll be that I've reached my target cone. And you can see this cone started to bend a bit. So this is when I would say I got a hot 6. In this case, this is my glaze firing. So I got a hot cone 6. 6 was my target. I know I met it. 7 bent a bit, so I can say I got a hot 6. So that's kind of what you're looking at for cones. You always want to use cones when you're firing so that you know that your work got to the proper temperature. I put my cones at the very bottom of my kiln, about 3 inches back from the bottom peephole so that I can see them. So when you put them in, you know, keep looking, adjusting until you can see that 6 right on, because that's the one you're going to be watching during your firing. Your 6, whatever your target cone is, that's the one you want to see. So it's the one you're watching while you're firing. Now, you load your work up, you get your cone ins, you set your cone in the cone sitter, and you're ready to fire. Your kiln has 4 settings: off, low, medium, and high. You're gonna load up your kiln, have your cones in. You are going to vent the lid. I just have a small riser that I use. You're gonna put 1 peephole in the bottom plug, and you're gonna set your kiln to low, okay? You're gonna let that fire for your bisque ware. You're gonna let it fire for 3 hours, and then you're gonna come out after 3 hours. I like to set a timer. Come out after 3 hours and just simply turn it up to medium. Leave it vented, leave your bottom peephole in. Then after 2 hours on medium, you're gonna come out, you're gonna remove your venting, and you're gonna put your other peephole in the top plug. So that's for a bisque fire. And then once both peepholes are in, unvented, on high, you're gonna leave your kiln running till it's done. How do you know when it's done? That's when your cones come in handy. So your cone sitter is here, but you can't necessarily rely on it because they can occasionally fail for a couple of reasons. So it's really like a babysitter or a nanny. You know, you're the one responsible for the kids, but you've got some help. So that's the same with the kiln. You're the one responsible for the firing, but you have some help. So what's going to happen is after you set it to high to fire until it's done, you're going to come out on occasion, remove the bottom plug, and take a look at your cones inside. Now you're waiting to see that target cone be bent to 90 degrees. What I did when I started was I just came out about every hour and checked it just so that I understood how the kiln worked. I don't come out every hour now. I kind of have a gauge on when I should come out to check, but every kiln's going to be different. And so you're going to have to, the first few times, really babysit it, really come out and check and watch until you get to know your kiln. If your kiln sitter works as it should, you might come out and notice that it has dropped and your kiln is off. And great, you just turn it off and walk away, and that's your firing done. For a glaze firing, I follow the exact same method. I load my kiln up with my cones, put my cone in the cone sitter, I vent it, and I put a bottom peephole in. I fire it for 5 hours on low. I come out, I leave it as is, I turn it up to medium for 1 hour, and then I come out after an hour, stop venting it, put my top peephole in, and turn it up to high. And again, fire it till it's done. You'll know it's done by checking on your cones and seeing how they're bending. So that's a really basic way to fire your kiln. And yeah, if you have any other questions, let me know. I learned a lot of things the hard way, so you can learn from my mistakes.